Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to a Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our Hydration with Heart segment, brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, we're featuring Jen Drummond, world record holder, author, influencer, and speaker. Now, post a near-death accident, Jen's son dared her to climb Mount Everest for her 40th birthday. Jen, now 43, is the first woman to climb all 7 summits, enlisting her into the Guinness Book of World Records. She's a mom to 7 kids, all names beginning with the letter J. She had a former career in finance before launching her 3rd book, coming out next year, and get ready to embark on a journey of personal growth with this one. Jen's experiences on the mountains serve as a metaphor for achieving life goals and inspiring continuous self-improvement. In her book, Quit Proof, 7 Strategies to Build Resilience and Achieve Your Life Goals, she shares her struggles and victories and delivers potent insights into achieving balance, setting meaningful objectives, and living life to its fullest. This past June, Jen became the first woman in the world to conquer the 7 second summits. Life goal reached. Learn the secrets to how Jen did it and how you can apply hard-earned lessons to learning how to never quit. Welcoming now to the show is the amazing Jen Drummond. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Woohoo! Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I am so excited to chat with you. You are one amazing human.
Oh, we're all amazing humans.
Well, you specifically, my dear. Now, tell me about your near-death accident and experience and how, in the split of a minute, your life very quickly changed.
Yes, so I was driving back from a nearby town and on the highway, looking outside at the reservoir. I saw that it wasn't frozen over. Thinking about it a little bit, got my attention back onto the road and realized that I was coming up very fast to a semi truck. So I looked in my rearview mirror, went to go into the left-hand lane. He had a trailer. Somehow the trailer hit the passenger side headlight. I flipped end over end, rolled sideways into the median, and luckily survived that accident. They rebuilt it about 50 different times because it's a dangerous area. Could not rebuild a scenario where I lived. So that was very amazing to walk away from that. Definitely changes your perspective on everything. I remember going home to my kids that day from the hospital checkup, and they were fighting, of course. And instead of me wanting to neutralize the fight, I just sat there and I was like, oh, wow, how amazing is it that we have 2 people from the same household that have entirely different opinions, that are so convinced that they want their sibling to believe what they believe. And it just changed everything in my life to say, listen, this is all beautiful, all of it. Like, let's enjoy, let's experience, let's make the most out of this one magic life.
Yeah, because at that point, you were just so grateful to be alive. It was
Yes,
quite
yes, yes. I'm like, the principal office, I'm okay. I'm here to take this call. Let's continue.
Exactly. Now it's just like that. Things change. Now, mountain climbers consider the second highest mountains on all 7 continents to be technically more complex than the 7 highest. You became the first woman to conquer all 7 summits, and this is a remarkable feat that has earned you a place in the Guinness Book of World Records. Could you share some of the most memorable moments or challenges, perhaps, that you faced during your journey to these summits, and how these experiences really have shaped your perspective on life?
Yeah, so every mountain has had its own story, which has been humbling and awe-inspiring in and of itself. When I went to K2 in 2021, I had a teammate die in an avalanche and another one lose his hand to frostbite. I was on the mountain when all this information was provided. I had the opportunity to continue up the mountain or turn around and go home. I decided that it was more important who we are as people than what we achieve. So I came down to be with my team and put the people over peaks. When I got back to the United States, I was definitely frustrated I didn't summit. I didn't have the success, but I was successful in showing up as I wanted to. I was a person that put people first. And I think that's sometimes hard when we're going after big quests. The story comes full circle in 2022 when I went back to go summit K2. I was made aware that some people wanted to summit from Pakistan and they didn't have the resources to climb their country's prized peak. So I brought over gear and helped sponsor the first Pakistani female to stand on top of K2. So when I summited, I felt,
Wow. Oh my,
yeah,
I just got chills. Jen, that's incredible.
I know. So when I summited, I'm like, woohoo. But then when she summited, it was waterworks because I have daughters, and I know what it's like to have daughters see people that look like them in these positions or in these roles or on top of these mountains in this case. And it just goes to show that when we do the right thing, things happen for us and greater things are possible.
So true. And this all started on a dare. I read that your son dared you to climb Mount Everest.
Yes. So I was originally climbing a mountain called Ama de Blanc because when I said, "Hey, I'm going to launch my 40th decade with this big mountain, what mountain should I climb?" Everybody said Ama de Blanc. It's a gorgeous mountain in Nepal. It's Paramount Pictures logo. And I'm like, okay, perfect. Well, my son's struggling with his math homework one day. And I'm like, listen, buddy, we do hard things. He goes to me, if we do hard things, why are you climbing a mountain called I'm a Dumb Blonde instead of a real mountain like Mount Everest? I said, Ama de Blom, honey, not I'm a dumb blonde, but thank you. And then I thought about it. I'm like, hey, if Everest is the real mountain to him, maybe I
Oh,
should
that
climb
was funny.
Everest because that will show him we're capable of all of it.
Oh, that was so funny.
I
I'm a
know.
dumb blonde. Oh, God, you can't make this stuff up. That's great. Now, it's interesting because I always love a saying by Winston Churchill, a famous quote: continuous effort, not strength or intelligence, is the key to unlocking our potential.
Yes.
It's interesting. Now, how did you prepare physically and mentally for these extreme climbs? I mean, were there any unique training routines or techniques that you used?
Yeah, well, having 7 children will mentally prepare you for about anything, so that helps naturally. And then physically, I live in Park City. So living in Park City, I have mountains all the way around me. When the ski resort would close at night, I'd be able to ski up it or hike up it and then ski down, which helped because that's what you do in the mountains. I have 7 kids, I run a business, so I also had to really manage time tightly. So I would be that mom that would be at soccer practice with a 12-inch step and a backpack full of water bottles, watching soccer and then doing my step up so I could get exercise in and support my kids in what they were doing. So you just have to get creative and figure out how you're gonna make it work.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
And again, another famous quote by Calvin Coolidge. He said, "Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful people with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. The slogan "Press on" has solved and always will solve the problems of the human race. So press on. It's
Press
true.
on. Yes.
Now, climbing such diverse peaks must have, without a doubt, exposed you to various cultures and landscapes. Can you describe how these experiences enriched your perspective?
Yeah, I think we get so caught up in the stories and the bubbles in our culture. When you get to travel to another location and just see a different way of doing things, it lets you say, oh, wow, there's more possibility in how this can look or how this can show up. I'll never forget being in Kenya and it was around Valentine's Day. And in the United States, Valentine's Day leaks out of every single everything. And over there, it was just a simple, I love you, I see you, how are you? And it just reminded me of how we don't need pillows for every holiday. We don't need all of this stuff. It's who we are and how we can show up and support one another and see each other in our pursuits. And that just really changed on how we've done our lives here. A lot less things and a lot more experiences.
Without a doubt, and that you have written the manuscript on perseverance and on truly believing not only in yourself but in humanity, because like you said, you put people first and it always comes full circle. I mean, karma, I believe in karma, and it's one of those things where in life I say to people, look, you never know who you're going to meet and how that person is going to change your perspective on life. There are no coincidences. Treat everybody with dignity and grace and go where there's no path and leave a great big trail. And that's what's important. I mean, perseverance, in fact, is failing 19 times and succeeding the 20th.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, listen. So, you achieved a world record, and this requires meticulous planning. What were some of the logistical aspects that you needed to manage to accomplish this feat? I mean, there's a lot involved here.
Yeah, there is a lot involved, and mountains have different seasons that you climb them in. So that's why we see Mount Everest typically summited in May, or you see K2 summited in July, or you see Mount Tyree in Antarctica summited in January. Those are the seasons that it's safest to climb those mountains. So I was looking at the goal saying, okay, who can be climbed what season? How much time is it going to take? How much time am I away from my home? How am I going to have my kids still be supported while I'm gone? When I went to climb Mount Everest, it would be the longest I'd ever been away from home. I went to the kids' school. I told the teachers and I said, "Hey, I'm not going to be here. My grandmom's coming in, grandma's going to be there, but they might need a little extra bit of love and grace during this time frame." Well, in sharing that struggle or that concern, the school stepped up and said, "Hey, let's do a What's Your Everest campaign." So then I went in and talked about setting Everest like goals. The kids colored little hikers and had a flag, and they put what their Everest goal was on that flag. I had a tracking device while I was climbing in Nepal. So then the kids could see where I was on the mountain.
Wow.
Yeah, and then at base camp, you can actually do Zoom calls back to the schools here. So I did some Zoom calls to answer questions on, where you went to the bathroom and what you ate and all the things that kids care about. And so my children, even though I was gone for a long period of time, felt so loved and so seen because my community stepped up in a way that they wouldn't have known had I not said, "Here's where I'm falling short. Here's my concern. How can we work together to bridge this gap?" And I really feel that when we learn to say, "Here's what I need," to the right people, solutions are provided and it makes it such a better, more enjoyable experience for everybody.
Well, you definitely have a community around you, and when when there's a will, there's a way. And not only did you find a way to climb that mountain, but you got everybody involved. I mean, it does really take a village. So you
Yes.
played that one out nicely. Now, were there any specific moments or summits that stand out to you as the most rewarding or unforgettable?
When I was in Antarctica, it has not been climbed by that many people. I think maybe 20 people before us. So our team was 20 through 25 on the summits. There had been one female that climbed it before, and I got to meet with her before I went to the mountain, which was amazing. So I could ask her all the questions of what should I eat? How many hand warmers do I need? What things do I need to look out for? What It just helps to have knowledge when we're doing things from people that have been there before. When I woke up to do the summit day, I remember looking outside of my tent thinking, wow, if I would have been born when my mom or my grandma were an entirely different era, this would never be possible. And so that entire climb, I was carrying our flag, just saying, look where we've come, world. Like, look at what we're doing with our time, what we get to experience, what we get to empower, what we get to say. And no matter what part of the world we are in, our flag matters. Who we are matters. And it has a ripple effect on what's possible for the next generation or those around us to take that flag even further. And that was just a really important moment for me to realize that we all are so significant in moving society forward and making possibilities available to others. And I'm just so grateful for all of it.
Wow, I appreciate you so much. I mean, you are so touching and inspirational, and thank you so much for sharing your incredible story with us because that is one brand new perspective on how to really look at things, and you are refreshing. And this is a question I have now. Climbing, of course, can be a dangerous pursuit, but how did you prioritize safety during these expeditions?
Well, we're always roped off to one another. We're always doing triple, double checks on things. There's two mountains I turned around on. So K2 and Mount Logan. I just didn't feel they were safe. The mountains are always going to be there. So remembering that we can always come back. We don't have to do everything. It's not a linear path to success. And so just accepting the fact that this isn't the season, do some work, come back again and come back stronger with more knowledge and more safety.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. Now, you're the first woman to achieve this feat, and it's quite inspiring to many. What advice would you give to aspiring female adventurers out there?
Yeah. We have these things inside of us that light us up, that make us who we are. When I moved to Park City and we were shopping at Costco, I looked outside the store and I saw all the mountains and I was telling my mom, I can't wait to climb every one of these. My mom looked at them. She's like, there is not one thing I want to do about those mountains except look at them from here. But when it comes to decorating a bookshelf, she can figure out all the pretty things to put together to have it be the most gorgeous bookshelf you've ever seen. And just understanding that each one of us has this different story, there's different view or this different idea of what we want to do with our lives. And it's beautiful when we allow that and step into that and experience that because when I do me, I give you permission to do you.
That is so true. And I love what you said. My takeaway in all of this is community and
Yes.
relying on others because again, joy can be magnified if we're around others. We all know that intuitively. If you're watching a really funny movie by yourself, that's pretty good, right? But if you're watching a really funny movie with your best friend, you're looking over and sharing the laughter together, that kind of feels a lot better. And the emotions we experience, good or bad, get more intense when we experience them together. And this also explains why negativity tends to spread like wildfire given the right context, a toxic office environment, for example. So I always like to keep things positive, and you are so upbeat. So thank you for making me feel so blessed to encounter somebody who's had a second lease on life and is so appreciative and just looks at life with a glass half full and such a positive attitude. You are amazing.
Well, thank you. Here's what I say. We don't get to choose when we die, but we sure get to choose how we live. And every day we have a choice to show up and live life as big as we want it.
I love it. Thank you so much for coming on. You're awesome.
Thank you.
That was our Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut. That was the incredible Jen Drummond. Do check her out directly on her website at jendrummond.com, or you can check her out on the gram at the Jen Drummond. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, 100% pure coconut water. Imagine a drink that's nutrient-rich, powerfully refreshing, naturally sweet with no added sugars, not from concentrate, zero additives, low in calories, absolutely no artificial flavors, and is so tasty that it will become your new favorite beverage. Enter Once Upon a Coconut, the absolute best tasting coconut water you will ever try. Available in 4 refreshing flavors: pure, chocolate, pineapple, and sparkling with energy. Do your taste buds a favor and pick up some today at onceuponacoconut.com.